Please be advised that Little Miss Recap contains adult language. Hey guys, it is Little Miss Recap here with Trash Bag Shit Talk, Love Should Be Multiplied, Not Divided, Ace and Katelyn. They need no further introduction. We're all here together today. It's Amanda, it's Amy, it's Ace, it's Katelyn. We're talking JonBenet.
We are.
Now
Y'all are going to educate me.
Here's the thing. And I do need to issue an apology to everyone who did spend the 3 hours watching this entire documentary, or not documentary, movie. Very
it was
terrible.
Perfect Murder, Perfect Town.
And I do apologize because I know it's bad. It's 3 hours, but JonBenet Ramsey case is extremely close to my heart. And so if we disagree, I will more than likely scream at you, yell at you, call you names, just as a fair warning. Yeah. Just want you to know.
Okay.
It's our favorite murder, if you can say you have a favorite murder.
Right. I don't think we're supposed
There's
to say that.
There's a whole podcast called My Favorite Murder, so I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Leo, I need you to shut up, dude.
Yeah.
Stop talking.
I will say that I told you guys this yesterday when we tried take one and this didn't work on my end. My mother has said, just like you guys, keep me alive, keep the machines going, do whatever you need to do. I am not passing on from this mortal coil until JonBenet's murder is solved.
But
you could just keep her like the Love Has Won cult in the back of your car.
Yeah.
She
Or
could be
just,
your
like,
mother
get her
dog.
some Christmas lights. Get her some Christmas lights to be covered in.
It's not unheard of.
See, now I take a different approach than your mom, and I say that like the first thing I'm doing when I get to hell, because I'm probably not going to heaven, is that I'm going to say, can you tell me what happened? Or like, show me where the killer is, because I'll go talk to them, because they're in hell as well. Like that's what I want to do.
People talk.
Yeah.
I do want to tell everyone there are trigger warnings on this episode. I'll do it for both of our podcasts.
Oh, thank you.
Trigger warnings.
Mhm.
Sexual assault, child death, all the terrible things. We are talking about JonBenet. However,
Amanda has a huge smile on her face when you're saying all of this.
Keep in mind, we are talking and making fun of the movie, not JonBenet herself being murdered. Let's just
we would
clarify
never.
that.
Exactly.
Never.
Yeah, and we're not accusing a certain someone who likes to sue people of murder. So
No, these are just our theories.
Oh,
okay. Burke is running
Allegedly.
around suing people.
What?
Really?
Oh, well,
well, don't worry.
Hold on a second, because now
think
we're getting
gonna
into some hot water here. We're getting into some hot water.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
All of these statements are our opinions, allegedly.
Thank you
Do
for
not
that.
sue us. Do not sue us.
I'm a little bit.
I'm assuming he's only gonna sue you guys then.
Yeah, because and I'm gonna come to his defense. Yeah, fuck the movie. I need to know why you think this. I need to know right now. I need to know.
Not saying no. I'm not weighing in. I'm just saying people are suing people over theories. So in case that theory comes forward,
anything we say is a theory.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I just needed
we're not saying what our answer is yet. We're just saying.
Oh, okay.
We're all spitballing this.
Well, I was just going to say that I asked you guys and everyone listening to watch this 3-hour awful movie for about 30 seconds of cinematic history. And
oh my God,
it happens at about 18 minutes in. I sent it to somebody the other day.
I will say that it is probably my favorite moment in a movie of all time. And that is when we find little Johnny B, and she is just stiff as a board. Stiff as a board. And the rigor mortis has set in, and John carries that poor little play school doll up the stairs, and she's like whacking her on his way up, just like bam, bam, bam. Like, God, probably half those bruises came from him carrying her upstairs.
It's so clearly a doll. They didn't even try.
Why couldn't they just have the actress lay there? Like, I don't understand. Why
I
we
feel
needed
like
the
they
doll.
I did read about that. The mother of the actor who played the little girl did not want the daughter to be in the death scenes.
Where did you find this information?
Yeah.
IMDb. The mother said she felt it was too traumatic. But I'm like, then why sign your kid up to play JonBenet? We know how it ends.
Right.
And
she's
here's an
going to be
interesting.
known as playing JonBenet Ramsey. Like,
well, I don't
hello.
think she would be because no one else watched this.
Okay.
3 hours. Like
I know.
I don't remember it being 3 hours in my head. I remember being a quick hour and a half.
And you could have
Lifetime
shut it
movie.
off apparently after 18 minutes.
Yeah, 18 minutes. We got what we needed. You know?
I shut it off probably at about an hour. I shut it off and I wrote, fuck this. I'm watching Suburban Nightmare, and it was from 2022.
I'm so
I have to
sorry.
admit, I sort of
Was that
fell
better?
asleep in the middle because it was
I
bad.
did too. I did too.
We didn't
So-
quite finish it.
Suburban Nightmare was none of us did our homework.
No.
Suburban Nightmare was okay, but I felt like it was really heavily favored John Ramsey because he's in it.
He paid for
And
it.
it starts
Oh,
with him. It
wait.
starts with him being at
He's in it?
CrimeCon. I guess he was at CrimeCon.
He goes to
Oh.
CrimeCon.
He went to
Oh,
CrimeCon
come
in
on.
2022 because he started a petition to ask the governor to take the DNA samples that they have that weren't tested yet to be released to individual and private investigators.
Okay.
So
here's
he's
the
on
thing.
stage at CrimeCon.
This is the thing is that Code Adam, his dad went on to do America's Most
John
Wanted.
Walsh.
And I thought, wow, thank you for your service. But when I hear that John Ramsey's doing CrimeCon, no, it doesn't sit well. not in it for me.
Coffee out.
Like, no thanks. Like, I appreciate John doing his job.
Yeah, too close to the sun for John.
But yeah,
Yeah,
no,
no.
thank you.
Similarly to the way O.J. Simpson should not have written the book, if I did
Yeah.
it, this is what
This is-
would have happened.
If I did it, this is exactly how it would have looked.
Yeah.
How hard do you think it is to get a copy of that book?
Oh, I don't know. Is it still out, Amanda?
O.J.'s, I don't
No.
know. I'll look it up while we're talking.
I
No,
will
I think
never
they
forget
got rid
that.
of
I will never forget that. Hearing that verdict read, I'll
But I
never
would
forget
love
Oh,
to
I know.
that.
read that. Back to the little actress who played Johnny
Yes.
B.
Yes.
Her name is Diane Iandoli or something like that. She did this role. She did one episode of Law and Order, and then she left Hollywood. She was like, "I'm out. I can't be here
She's
anymore."
like, I can't play a dead girl
And
anymore.
now she's like a chef, and her Instagram is just full of pictures of her meals, like just tons of meals over and over. And I'm just like, okay, you once played the most adored. Well, do we call her adored? The child that we all know, the America's
the most infamous
Beauty
child in
pageant.
America.
Yes, and now you're just cooking up. You left Hollywood. Come on.
Okay, so you can buy If I Did It, Confessions of the Killer, name of the book. You can get it as an audiobook, and I was really hoping he would be one of the narrators, but alas, he is not,
Ugh.
because that would be amazing. But
Didn't
the
they
Goldman
pass
family,
that law? They passed a law that you can't profit off a crime anymore, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
of
I think so.
this?
I think so.
Oh,
Yeah, it's so fucked up. I have to share something that's a little strange I discovered about John Ramsey, because I never understood why JonBenet's name was JonBenet, because that's a weird name.
His name was John
Yeah.
Bennett.
Bennett is my middle name, guys.
Oh.
I'm going to
Amy
call you
Benet.
Amanda Benet.
Amanda Benet.
Oh my god.
Yeah, Bennett is my
Okay.
middle name. Yeah.
I also have a connection to John Benet that I will reveal. Not quite as explicit. So when my girls were little, I have twin girls, they're 17 now, but when they were babies and they had a poop, they would go like this with their arms.
Straight up. They play the doll.
So for a long time in our house, that meant you had a poop. We were just doing joking. So now I'm like, our arms straight up, does John Benet just have to poop? Like post-mortem poop.
Poop.
What if she just died of poop? What if she died of too much poop?
Could have been. I will say I also have a connection to JonBenet because I don't want to be left out of this. And my connection is that when she was murdered, I was 6 years old at the time. And I spent
You guys are the same age, right?
yes, we're the same age. I spent that entire holiday season just watching the news coverage on this at my grandma's house. No one knew what I was doing or what I was watching. No one cared. No one paid attention. And that is my connection to JonBenet. So at 6 years old, I got into this. I've been on the case a very long time.
Hey, when is your birthday?
Intro. March 21st, 1990.
Oh, March 16th.
Oh!
Yeah, no, she's August 6th. I was hoping you guys were actually born on the same day because that would be amazing.
No. But we could have dated.
No.
Oh, you could.
We have another connection is that our wedding date is on the same day that Patsy died.
Yeah. Not the same
nice.
year,
Not the same year,
but
yeah.
same day. Yeah.
We
Rest in peace, her
also,
soul.
I also had a dog named Ramsey.
Based off of JonBenet Ramsey. So it's basically
So
6 degrees of separation
Told you
at
it's
this
our
point.
favorite
Yeah.
crime.
It is. It's her favorite murder.
So I'm wondering how we want to handle this. Do we want to lay out our theories first, or do we want to talk about some of the prevailing theories around this and then weigh in? How do you
I have
guys
an
want to do
idea.
it?
Since I'm the
Yeah.
newbie, I'll tell you everything I knew about this before I watched this cinematic, feat.
Masterpiece.
Oh, yeah.
Masterpiece.
So is all your information coming just from this beautiful movie?
No, I watched some other really bad thing too, and then I did a little internet research. So
Okay.
all I
Okay.
knew
So
was
you're well
right.
versed.
I knew this little girl got fucking expert. I knew this little girl got murdered in her house. I thought her bedroom was on the first floor, but then I realized that was Elizabeth Smart, I think, who got kidnapped out of
taken.
her room. I knew that everyone thinks that the mother or the brother did it. And I knew that they paraded her around like Astor's pet goat, and she was sexualized at like 3 years old, and it creeped me the fuck out.
Oh my! I couldn't imagine just like what world have you been living in which this did not take up all of your.
I know. And can we go there? Because I want to be in a world where I'm not obsessed with a certain crime.
Oh, I'm obsessed with
don't.
other things, just not this.
I can't imagine like
but I'm
going
enjoying
through
this.
This is my Roman Empire. I think about JonBenet at least 20 times a week. Like it's always on my mind.
Also, it never goes away. If you notice, like at the grocery store, it's always like on one of those weird magazines that's like killer
Still
was
talking
found.
about it.
Well,
Yeah,
you know what
it's
drives me
constant.
nuts is the fact that every time people will send me like every other year, it's like new evidence found in the JonBenet Ramsey case, and everyone sends it to me like they found the killer. I'm like, guys,
there's like a new 2020, and it's like we didn't learn anything.
I've been on
new.
this merry-go-round for 20 something years at this point. Like nothing's gonna happen. We're never gonna figure it out until we all die and go to hell. Like
I don't think they're ever gonna find it. And part of the reason is I did this
hope that when John dies, Burke will say something.
Oh, maybe.
I don't know.
I did this real deep dive on the DNA, and like I just think that they bungled the fucking DNA collection so bad. I don't think that unknown male 1 is even enough of a sample. Like they can't do, because people are like, why don't they call CC Miller and have her do the genealogy like she did for what's the killer they just caught? The Golden State Killer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But they're like, no, like the samples aren't good enough. And then I went into different types of DNA and it was way over my head and I couldn't understand it. Well, but the bottom line is it's not like they don't have enough of it and it's not the right kind of DNA.
And it seems like this crime scene was fucked from the start. Like
they botched the whole fucking thing.
They were moving bodies. They were letting everybody and their mother's uncle walk around this house. Like
they were literally cleaning the kitchen.
Yeah, Mrs. White was cleaning the kitchen.
Oh, you know what? When everything's going wrong, I just need to Windex something. I got to Windex something around here. Like, what the fuck?
My mom grew up not far from Boulder, and she knew a police officer on the case. And he said, like, we all know who did it, but we all like the crime scene was way too messed up that there's nothing you can fully say that's true. So
who did it?
Okay, so Amanda, go back to tell us what you've learned, what you know.
What do you think, Amanda?
Well, I think that Patsy was a fucking lunatic when this kid disappeared. And I don't know if it was the acting, you guys can confirm, but it was so over the fucking top that it felt ridiculous. It felt absolutely ridiculous. And the fact that she is wandering around this house wailing and Burke doesn't wake up, that seems very strange to
Allegedly,
me.
supposedly.
Whatever. Second of all, I feel like the dad is weird. I feel like John is weird. There's a weirdness there. I feel like Patsy's super weird. I feel like the way they even mentioned how they were going to go like meet his children the next day. Like, that's not how you say that. That felt weird. I think that there was way too much of this girl prancing around looking like a little sex symbol as a small child. That was weird.
She had a flapper. You know that, right?
A flapper?
Yeah. A flapper is when what is it? A flipper, right? A flipper.
Yeah.
When they put the fake teeth in to cover up that a baby is missing a tooth. Like, that is horrifying because that is, you are clearly trying to make this kid
look
an
older.
adult. Yeah.
Right. Ooh, creepy. I'm tempted to think, I don't know who did it. I'm tempted to think Patsy did it. But the bedwetting thing is weird. like kids who bedwet, particularly if you go back to bedwetting, that says to me that there's no, like, I feel like there's some trauma in this child's life before
Okay,
she
but
got
let
murdered.
me blow your fucking mind for a minute, because it wasn't
please.
just pissing the bed. She would full on shit the bed. Like they said, grapefruit
too.
size grape. And Burke would do different. Burke would wipe his shit all over the bathroom walls. All signs of sexual abuse.
Sexual abuse.
Mhm.
And you're
Yeah.
telling me that someone broke into this house and sexually abused these kids all the time, and like nobody, like someone was sexually abusing them. Who was it? And who was around them all the time? Right? Like,
So
give me a fucking break.
They brought
Allegedly.
in the
It's the
Boulder
housekeeper, isn't it? I'm just kidding.
The Boulder State Police, Amanda, brought in the guy who literally wrote the guidelines for deciding if children are sexually assaulted, right?
And he said yes.
And like 3 other experts, like unimpeachable experts in this, and they all said there is absolute signs of previous sexual trauma to this kid.
Oh my god.
100%.
So disgusting.
Like she was sexually assaulted by somebody.
And apparently this person just came in all the time through the night and left. And it was like, it couldn't.
No one ever noticed.
Like, yeah, give me a fucking break. Like,
also, there's a couple weird things. So it's like she finds the ransom letter and it says, don't call the police. And she calls the police right away and doesn't even say like, don't come in a marked car, or like, I don't know what to do. I'm scared for you to come, because like, if I got a ransom letter,
I'm a parent. There's no fucking way I'm calling the police. No fucking way. Like, I'm doing it.
Like, don't come here. I'll meet you somewhere else.
Exactly like you said, Caitlin. Yes.
And I would have said, park streets away, wear regular clothes, and walk to the back of our house.
They came with the sirens blaring. I'm like, really? Like, this is.
And then they're like, also, let's invite our entire fucking Bible study over. Like,
the whole neighborhood shows up at 6 a.m.
The pastor.
God, does anyone need a breakfast casserole? I got a breakfast casserole. Like, are you kidding me?
And then also, this house was like a maze. Like they had built onto it, so there was multiple staircases. There was like so many floors. All this, it's like someone just knew how to get in, exactly where to go. They found in your kitchen the notepad and the pen, which I think those were in 2 different spots, right? The pen and the notepad.
Yes.
Sat down, wrote a
Bible.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wrote the amount for the ransom was the same amount John Ramsey had as his bonus. And this man was worth millions of dollars. They could have asked for more than
$118,000.
Right.
Misspelled business, but correctly spelled attaché.
Yeah.
I always
somebody who's trying to look like they're misspelling things.
Yeah.
Every murderer I've ever met uses attaché quite often. Like that's
and make sure you're rested. Make sure you're rested because it's going to be daunting.
And 3 pages, which 3 pages to me says like, you know, when someone's lying and they keep like going more and more into the story, right?
And then also like all this, usually murderers are in and out, right? Like this is, we spent time
here's
doing
the theory.
3 pages.
The theory is that if it was an intruder, they broke in earlier in the day and had the entire day in the house waiting for them to come home.
I know, but still, I write my ransom letter and then bring it.
I know, but people are going to come and they're going to say, no, they didn't just do it in 1 second. They was waiting here the whole day. And so I'm saying that for everybody.
So let me ask you this. With that theory, did it snow that day? So that would explain why there was no footprint? Well, there'd still be footprints with the person leaving.
So I wanted to ask Ace about this because I seem to remember in the 2022 version, they're saying that there was no sign of forced entry. But I seem to remember somewhere in the zeitgeist around this case was that they had a footprint outside that basement window. Am I imagining that?
I remember something about a footprint, but I felt like they were saying that it hadn't snowed. And so the footprint could have been like anyone who was
older.
Yeah, like could have been anyone who had been around the house.
Because they had maintenance guys, they had, all that walking around all the time.
And the spider webs in the basement window. Like, so that means that nobody had gone through that basement.
Yeah, that spider web thing. I was like, oh, you don't,
And John said it had been broken for a long time.
And that was the thing though. The news all held on to this basement window situation because there was the suitcase lined up next to it. Like that's how he got out, and it was just, not, they were like, no, that there's spider webs. So no one came in or out through this basement window.
And these people have more money than God. Why wouldn't they just fix their broken basement window? Like, if you have the money to fix it, who the hell leaves that just broken?
Well, and John claimed that he got locked out of the house and had to climb in through the basement window. Like, you're a rich white dude in Boulder. Just call a locksmith. You get in your house. Or they said they gave the key, like they gave keys to the housekeeper, the gardener. Like, just call one of those people. You don't need
Yeah.
to crawl in through a basement window. Like, that's just weird.
Is
I
it
wonder if he said
possible
that because he was trying to cover up, like they would be able to pull shit off of him being
Right,
in
if
that
there was
room.
any of his
I don't know.
DNA in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's my theory is what if he did not get locked out, but he was actually locked out and the breaking of the window was in a fit of rage because he was trying to get back into his house and Patsy was like, no, you can't come in here. Like she kicked his ass out and he like they got in a fight. And she locked his ass out and he's banging on the door, but he doesn't want to call police or anything because he has this crazy woman. So he goes and he breaks the window in the basement to get back in.
That's a great theory. That's a great theory.
They had a fucked up marriage, allegedly, I believe.
Okay. I was going to ask you. No. I was going to ask you, do we have details on what their marriage was like? Because I don't know.
No, it's what I've made up in my head.
Also,
Okay,
though,
so
they're
what
the
you made
kind of
up.
people who would never
What do you
let that
believe to
get
be
out,
true?
you know? Like, they would cover everything up.
Here's what I believe happened. And actually, I'm going to speak for both of us. This is what we believe happened. We believe that John was sexually assaulting JonBenet for years. I believe that he was possibly also sexually assaulting Burke. Because I don't believe that two parents would both be sexual. I mean, I guess it could happen, but I believe that he was sexually assaulting both children. I believe that on the night of Christmas, Patsy came in and caught John and got furious, got mad. She took JonBenet and just like blind rage situation, took her, threw her ass down the stairs because there were stairs right by her room and like threw her down the stairs, bashed her head. And then like it turned into this situation of, well, if you tell on me, I'm going to tell them what you were doing. And both of them ended up having
That's
to go.
why they both had to cover it up together.
And there's one
So we're mutual assured destruction. One of them can't bend.
The only part about that theory that I've always struggled with is why the overkill, like why do the garrote around her neck? But I just choose to look past that.
But I think they wanted it to look like it couldn't have been an accident.
And John Ramsey
they were covering that up
because he had been in the military or something like that, so he knows how to do these things.
I think she died from they did say it was like trauma to her head, but I think that they just did that as like, oh, that's what like a
she
killer
did
would
not
do.
die from the suffocation. She died from blunt force trauma. So this was done after the fact. I just can't imagine why parents would do
to make it look like it was
step.
someone not.
I know, but it's like I think anyone.
They're crazy.
She was dead when they put the so when you when you are suffocated, a certain amount of mucus comes out of your nose and your mouth, right? And the duct tape that was over her mouth had mucus on the inside of it. So it was placed over her before like after she was dead. So whoever staged it, like clearly they put the tape on after, they put the things on her wrist after, like it was clearly staged.
You know what I love about the fact that you just said when you die, a certain amount of mucus comes out. I'm like, oh yeah.
When you die by suffocation.
Sure.
When you die by suffocation.
I love that you said that like right. And I'm like, oh yeah, of course. Yes, we
Yeah,
all know
of
that.
course.
Common knowledge. Common knowledge for all of us.
Listen. I went down a deep dive yesterday and I want to give a shout out to Morbid. That podcast is great. They did a 2-parter on this and they laid out everything. And it was really, really good.
What was their final consensus? Who killed
They won't
JonBenet?
say. They're more responsible than us, Ace. They won't say.
Oh my god.
They don't want to be sued.
They're like, we're gonna let you decide. Well, I'm deciding today.
And I also think that like with this theory is there was a housekeeper who was interviewed and said like she saw the grapefruit sized poops in JonBenet's bed and she said that when Patsy would have an accident, when JonBenet would have an accident, Patsy would lose her fucking mind. And the night or when the police came over, JonBenet's bedding was in the dryer.
Like she had an accident that night.
Like, the killer came over and was like, oh no, sweetie, You had a mess.
Yeah.
Let's watch
Let
your
me help you
bedding.
get cleaned up before I
Let's
kill
change
you.
your
There's
sheet.
also
Let's change the sheet. Like, yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
There's also the whole thing of like, she clearly knew her killer because nobody woke up from screaming. Like Burke didn't wake up from screaming. There's pineapple. There's the pineapple situation.
Yeah, let's talk about the
Oh.
pineapple.
Mhm.
Okay.
She had
First of all,
undigested pineapple in her
Right.
stomach.
who? I'm sorry, but tell me right now, this family's not fucked up because who's eating pineapple with milk as a snicky snack? Like that already is like,
Gross.
oh, there's a
I've
killer
never
here.
heard that
There's a
before.
killer here.
There's a
Someone's a
guy-
murderer here.
There's a guy
Yeah.
on TikTok who is recreating every serial killer's last meal and eating them and then deciding who had the best one.
Wow.
Oh, I love
That
living
is
in
fucked up.
2024.
And he did somebody, I don't know the guy's name, but somebody's last meal, and it was pineapple dipped in mayonnaise.
Ew,
No,
why?
that's and
So
that's the
there-
thing. I
that
could have
goes
told
to
you
show
that guy
you
was going
that
to kill
is the-
someone.
That
I
is
don't feel good.
the
That's
treat
disgusting.
Don't feel
of
good now.
murderers. I don't know.
But so here's the
So-
thing. They said the last
ahead.
thing she had was the cracked crab at the Christmas party. She was
First of
asleep
all,
when we came home.
what 6-year-old's eating cracked crab?
I mean, that's what
Amanda,
happens
you
when you're
know
rich, you know?
You know you're rich white people when your best
That's
friend's
true.
last name is your best friend's name is Fleet White.
Yeah,
And they're having cracked
that's true.
crab.
But-
Okay, Fleet.
They
Whatever.
said that she was asleep from in the car. She was asleep. They came home.
Well,
she was asleep.
At first, they
put
were
her
like,
in her
carried
pajamas.
her upstairs asleep, but then they're like, well, she was awake when we got home. Like the
No,
story
they
changes.
didn't say that.
I thought that
They've never changed their story.
They've
that she
never
was
changed
asleep
that.
the entire time.
Okay, I
she
thought
was
she
asleep
said that
the
they
entire time, and yet,
Mhm.
and the last thing she had was the cracked crab. Well, why the
Mhm.
fuck was there pineapple sitting out on the table and pineapple in her tum tum?
Yeah, the
You're
killer
telling
was
me
like, you
killer
want to
was
go
like,
have a snack?
How about, hey girly, listen, it's your last meal. What are you thinking? And she was like, oh my god, pineapple with milky, please. And he was like, girl, I got you. Hook it up. You know?
So
No.
the only fingerprints they found on the bowl of pineapple were Burke and Patsy's.
Yeah.
So the theory is that Burke had the pineapple. And so one of the theories is that Burke was eating the pineapple. JonBenet comes up, like wakes up like, oh, hey, give me some pineapple and milk. And like takes a piece and he beats the shit out of her with a mag flashlight.
Yeah, and did they also
Okay,
think he beat her
we're
with
gonna
a train
laugh at
set?
all of these theories. This is terrible. I'm laughing at the
What's
murder of
that,
a
Caitlin?
child.
I think there was also like people said he beat her with like a train set, right?
Well, there
Oh
was
yeah,
a-
there's
there was-
the train track. The
Yeah.
train
Yeah.
track stun gun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because she
But
was
they
stun
had
gunned, too.
previously Patsy had told people that he had hit JonBenet with the golf club
Yeah,
previously.
And
So
I
there was
believe
that.
that.
Yeah,
I
I
believe
believe
that
that.
he did. I mean, because they've both had serious trauma in their life. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
obviously a kid's gonna whack his sister with a
Yeah,
golf club.
but I don't think he
Yeah, I mean,
like
little kids
killed
beat each
her.
other up anyway, even when
Yeah.
there's not fucked up stuff happening.
I would beat my
Right.
sister with the golf club today if I had one and she pissed me off. Absolutely.
but not enough to kill her.
No.
and then have
Not
your
enough
parents
to
cover
kill
it
her. I
up.
would stop short of killing her. Maybe I should give my girls a golf club and lock them in a room together and see who comes
Oh.
out.
It's fucking Thunderdome up there.
See who comes out.
Two sisters enter, one leaves.
So, Amy, can
Um,
you walk us through your theory?
Also, wait, before we
Oh.
get into the theories,
Yes.
the other weird
Go ahead.
thing is that John looked all over the house. And then we ask him to look again, and he just happens to go straight down to the basement, into the room he didn't check before, and there she is.
And the detective said,
And
search the house top to bottom. And he was like,
he went to
okay,
the
so he
bottom.
went straight to the bottom
And then he
right to the room.
touched her all over to get his fingerprints all over her.
And they
then
both
laid
threw
on her, and
their
then
bodies all
Patsy
over
threw
her.
herself all over
Oh,
her.
my baby! Oh,
and
my baby!
Fleet White had checked that room previously, but like it was like a coal room, so there were no windows in it. So he opened the door. He was trying to find a light switch and couldn't, but he said, I saw clearly in there, and there was,
Nothing in there.
I couldn't see anything. That's what he said. And
Yeah.
John walks in, doesn't even
And-
turn the light on yet, and starts screaming and says
Yeah.
that he saw her through the darkness. And Fleet's like, no. You didn't even
Do
have
you
the
want
light
to know
on yet.
something that is so
Yeah,
fucking
he knew
creepy?
she was in there.
So when they remodeled the house, when I tell you I'm obsessed with this, I'm obsessed with this. The room where she was found is still there, but it is like cemented
off.
over.
Yeah, they like cemented over the door.
Like they didn't
They tried to
fill
keep
the
her
room
ghost
with
in there.
cement, but it's like
it's like a tomb.
It's King Tut's tomb.
Like that's
It
creepy.
is.
Let's
JonBenet.
open it up and like at least let
Now,
it be part
do you
of the
think
house.
anybody who buys this house is obsessed with this case? Because would you ever live in a murder house?
Oh, these
If you
two
weren't
weren't. You guys
obsessed?
would.
I
Ace,
he
you
wants
would
to
live
buy
in the
it for-
JonBenet house if you could.
Oh,
No,
absolutely.
it's haunted for sure.
If I could
Caitlin's like,
qualify,
well, then you're on your own, my friend. 'cause I'm
Nobody
not living
ever
there with
stays.
you.
Like it's always for sale.
if
People,
I could
it has to be haunted.
qualify for a $6.5 million house, I'm there. I'm there. Like, and let me also say this about
We're working
the house.
on going to see it.
The
too.
house is like another character in this entire thing because it is a fucking maze. And I am just like a big part for me is the house. Like I am obsessed with the house, with the layout, with the fact that like nobody would be able to get around this house just willy-nilly.
Yeah.
They said like
Yeah.
housekeepers and stuff were like confused all the time. Like they couldn't find.
I
their
was
way around.
looking at the floor plans and I can't make sense of it.
No.
Yeah,
I
It's-
can't make
it's a
like
maze.
it's weird.
yeah.
Another thing is Patsy and John's room was on the 3rd floor, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
And their kids were on the 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
So I still feel like if somebody came into that room and JonBenet screamed, if it was an intruder, and
Right.
JonBenet screamed or something, somebody would have heard it, unless they got trashed at Fleet White's house, and they were in like
And
one of those
What is
comatose.
happening with this house? Jesus.
The neighbor said that she heard screams.
Oh,
Remember?
really?
Yeah. There was
the
a neighbor
neighbor
who
heard a
said, I
scream.
heard screams. And
Oh, interesting.
their dog was not home at the time because they were leaving the next day. Somebody was watching their dog. So they were like, oh, well, the dog didn't bark or anything because he wasn't here. And here's the other thing that is always a favorite point of mine is when the police showed up the next morning or the morning of to solve this case, Patsy is wearing the exact same outfit she was wearing the night before. And everyone was like, in what world did Patsy Ramsey, this woman of elegance and class, get
Put on
out
her
of bed
dirty
and be like,
clothes.
oh, let me put my dirty clothes back on? Or did she
And why did she
never
put real
go to
clothes on
sleep?
anyway? It's like 5 a.m. Why isn't she in her robe?
Because she
Yeah,
never
or-
went to bed.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why she was so delusional.
Mm-hmm.
She was losing her mind because she's like, I need sleep.
I wonder
then
if
the fact
John
that
tied
she-
one on at Fleet White's house and they got into it when they got home. Who
Maybe.
amongst us hasn't had a drunk fight after a Christmas party?
Well, Ace
Yeah.
hasn't.
Ace hasn't, but I have.
But
He has had a drunk fight at a Christmas party. He just wasn't drunk.
Yeah, I just wasn't drunk. I was
That's
interrogating everyone else.
completely fair. Also, then the fact that she, after being asked about wearing the same outfit she was wearing Christmas morning, she
Mhm.
then was interviewed in the exact same outfit
Yep.
to make it
To
look
show
like
Twice in a
like-
row. Like,
yeah.
oh, I
that she
always wear
wears
my
the same
outfits.
clothes.
And here's the crazy part that like a lot of people don't know this part of the case is a grand jury ruled to indict them. And Boulder police said, or whoever it was like, actually, we're not going to do that. And so
The DA
everyone
wouldn't
thought,
sign off on it.
yeah, the DA, everyone thought the grand jury said like, oh no, there's not enough here. That's why they didn't go anywhere. The grand jury said, no, we have enough. Let's move this forward. And the DA said, nah, it's good. So everyone's always assumed they've had like a hand in someone's
Or
pocket.
paid off the police or something.
Something.
So, do we know if they were going to indict? Do we know who they were going to indict if they were going to?
I think both of them.
I believe.
Both of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then they said, oh, actually, never mind. We're not going to.
Here, I have it. The governor of Colorado calls in special prosecuting team, put together a grand jury. They believe the Ramseys are responsible. In September 1988, they are indicted for child abuse charges. There's no defense in a grand jury, so like they couldn't hear the defense for that. And state prosecutors call JonBenet's pediatrician. JonBenet's pediatrician was the only one who said that she wasn't abused. But to be fair, he did not examine the body post-mortem.
Right.
And he was
said he
never
just didn't see
looking
anything ahead of
for
time.
abuse.
Yeah.
Right. And so the local DA, Alex Hunter, steps in and refuses to sign the indictment. Also, at one point, the new DA, she was a woman, I forget her name, and she wrote a letter to like exonerate the Ramseys in like 2008 and apologized to them. And every law enforcement person was like, no, we didn't sign off on that. Like they are still under suspicion. That is not a legal binding exoneration. We don't know what she was doing. Like she went rogue.
That's crazy.
Mhm.
She was paid.
Here's another little tidbit
Yeah.
that a lot of people don't know, and this is super fucked up of me to even say, but I mean, what's stopping me?
Yeah, I was gonna say, you've said many a fucked up thing, my friend. Keep
John
going.
Ramsey was married before Patsy, and he had other
Right.
children. His, I think it was his oldest daughter, had also died several years before in a car accident. And I've always had a theory about that car accident and what actually happened. And was it possible that she was... what I would like to know is more about that woman's, his daughter's mentality. Was she...
her mental state?
Yes, because is it possible that she was also a victim? I mean, obviously people die in car accidents all the time who are not losing their mind and stuff like that. But is it possible that, you know, we've never really heard about her personality. It was very like swept by the wayside. And in my head, the theory that I've made up allegedly is that, you know, she was a little crazy. She was driving in her car and maybe she was drunk or something. And that's how she died. Again, it's all very fucked up that I'm reaching so hard.
You'll
But
have to like
no,
look at
it's funny.
records and
It's
see
funny
what
you bring
the
up
accident was.
It's funny you bring up his kids because this is how morbid I am. I immediately was like, wait a minute. He has these other kids. One of them is a son, an older son. Where was he when all this was going on? Because they were
Atlanta.
supposed to meet up with them. And I was like, where? And then I found out they were cleared because they were in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Like, could he have snuck in the house and did this?
Yeah.
He was like,
Or
I hate
why
that
don't
my
we
dad
ever
has
get
a new
eyes on them
family.
to know about their, like, what do they have to say about their childhood?
Oh,
If
yeah.
anything.
And also, in what world does your child get fucking murdered and you're immediately like, call the pilot, we're getting out of here? Like, no.
And he's like, I have a meeting. I have to go to a meeting in Atlanta. And so I watched this interview from 1999. I want to say it's Linda. Is her name Linda Arndt? She was like the first detective on the scene. You guys saw it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
She was like, she basically said, I'm going to, you know, I'm interpreting her words.
Allegedly.
She basically said, like, when I was given that doll CPR, I was looking at a stone cold killer. Like, that's what she said. And she said that when she told John Ramsey to go call the police because they had the dead baby doll, she's like, I clocked and made sure I had 18 bullets in my vest because I didn't know if we were going to make it out of here alive. So she felt like she was in immediate danger in that house with him.
Yeah. Yeah, no, she said a number of times the killer was she was in the room with the killer.
Yeah.
And I don't believe any of it was premeditated. I don't believe that they were like, on Christmas night, we're going to kill.
It was a complete accident, but then they all were like, we all have to cover it up.
Well, I don't know if you'd call it an accident, but it was.
I mean, it was.
Oh, I think
something.
it was an accident. I think it was an accident.
Well, when I hear accident, I mean like, oh, I was carrying her and I tripped down the stairs, and I think they bashed her head in out of a fit of rage or something like that.
Yeah.
It was definitely a fit of rage.
I don't think they meant to kill her, so that would be what, manslaughter? But the cover up is the crime, as always.
Right.
The cover up is the crime.
The lie is the problem. I mean, murdering your child's also a problem, but lying about it on top of it makes it more of a problem. So your theory is that both Patsy and John did this together, essentially.
Is that's Ace and Katelyn's theory, correct?
If we had to say who killed her, Patsy killed her, but John did all of the cover up.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's always been
my theory. My theory is that John is the killer, and Patsy was reacting to that. I think that my theory is similar to yours, guys, in that I do think the sexual assault was revealed in some way that night. And that it was kind of like, I think he used JonBenet as a weapon against Patsy. Like, oh, you think that's fucking bad? Bam! Smacked her with the mag flashlight, which would have left an 8.5-inch scar or trauma.
Oh.
Right.
And then Patsy went hysterical, and then they covered it up together.
So what's Burke doing this whole time?
Burke?
Is he just hiding in his room?
Burke is on the 911 call. Do you guys
Yeah.
believe that Burke is on the 911 call?
I absolutely believe that he's on the 911 call.
Yeah, I do too.
They sent him back to his room after I feel like he came down, was like, what happened? Was on the 911 call, and they were like, you didn't see anything, go back upstairs.
Did you watch the Dr. Phil with Burke on it?
Oh my God. Let me tell you something.
Yeah, Burke is a strange kid,
but
I don't think
everyone
he's a
says he's a
killer.
strange kid because he's a killer. I'm like, no, he's a strange kid because he has been
grew up
so
in that family.
fucked up by this family, and
Yeah,
he knows.
Your sister's murdered in your house, regardless who does it. That's gonna fuck you
Right.
up.
Yeah.
And I think
I
that
was convinced he had done it, but I don't think so anymore.
No, I've never in my life believed that he did it, because I think too, as parents, there would be a way to kind of, especially for them, like they are fucking rich white people. There's a way that they could explain away what happened to cover up for Burke. Like these people were committed to covering it up to save their own asses.
Yeah, if Burke had like accidentally hit her over the head with the flashlight or whatever, like why wouldn't you just bring her to the hospital and say like it was an accident?
Be like they were fighting and there was an accident.
Yeah.
I really believe that there was some element of mutually assured destruction. I think that John Ramsey might have said to Patsy, like, if you go forward with this, we're going to lose Burke. Or they're not going to believe that you didn't know what was going on. You're going to go to jail for the rest of your life as well. Because I was thinking, like, why wouldn't Patsy have told on John? But I think it was just the dynamic between them.
She doesn't strike me as the brightest bulb.
No, but also their reputation. Like I feel like they, like how could she go on being like, yeah, I was with a murderer. John killed our kid. Like I feel like she was like, it is better to cover everything
I think
up.
that Patsy
They're
knew
masters
about
of sweeping things under the rug.
Yes, and I think Patsy knew about the sexual assault well before this happened. And because
I did too, but I think that night it came to a head in some way. Either she caught it happening or something. That night it came to a head, is my theory.
Did they ever
think
test
she
her for...
knew, or did she think they suspected? Do you think she knew for sure, or do you think she suspected something was happening?
I don't think she had ever witnessed it before, but I think that she knew, and she just turned like very like, you know, how like people back in the day were like, oh, you just look the other way and pretend that it's not happening because she's still my little Barbie doll that I can dress up and do pageants with and whatever. And I'm also curious too, did they ever do a blood alcohol? No, they didn't. Of course they didn't. But like, I would be curious to know, like, where was their like blood alcohol level at? Because is it possible that like the reason everything came to a head was because they were drunk, and that is why Patsy finally lost her inhibition? Like she wasn't able to like hold it all in anymore because she was like, I know what you've been doing there, and I'm gonna tell everybody about it.
I mean, I can clearly relate to having a drunk fight after, you know, some kind of party or something like that. Granted, I would be in my 20s doing that, not in my 40s, late 40s, but whatever. I mean, everybody, you know, whatever. Maybe Fleet White just got them a little trashed, and they had too much fun at Fleet White's, and they ended up,
too much crack crab. So much crack crab. Did any of you guys watch that great Photo Lovely Life documentary?
Yes. We didn't finish it, but
no, not yet.
Okay. Yeah, I finished it this weekend. And it's kind of like that. Like everyone knew what this guy was doing, and they were like, la 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 la. It's fine.
Oh, like that documentary about the guy who was molesting the daughter, and the parents just kept like inviting him into the house. What was that documentary?
Abducted in plain sight.
Thank you. Yes.
And they were like letting him have a sleepover. Yeah. And the parents were both sleeping with him too.
Yeah.
Well, so Katelyn, the dad was just relieving himself.
That was a wild story.
They were just jerking each other off. It was
so let me poke a little at your theory, Ace and Katelyn.
Okay.
If Patsy and John were in on it together, and the reason that they didn't come forward was because of the mutually assured destruction, when Patsy died, why didn't he just throw her under the bus?
Oh, because
again, their reputation.
Well, no, more than the reputation. At this point, like he was aiding and abetting a killer. Like I think he would face absolute legal repercussions, and like,
and he still helped. Like no matter what, he helped do all that. Patsy didn't.
I think it would poke so many holes in his story, and they'd be like, hold on a second, you're telling us that your wife killed her, wrote this letter, brought her to the basement, tied her up, did all this stuff, you know, like
all by herself, and you just were helpless.
All of America would turn on him and be like, no,
he'd still be in some sort of trouble. I don't think they'd let him get off with it.
He absolutely 100% dictated that letter to Patsy. Patsy wrote it, but he dictated it to her.
Yes.
Yeah,
because
like
there's just enough like business jargon in it, you know what I mean, to be like, let's make it look like it's this group of like Chinese businessmen I'm working with or something crazy. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
right
that
out of
was
an
his
80s
idea.
movie. I don't know.
Also, she was the only one who her handwriting did like match the letter.
Well,
like
it didn't. It couldn't not be.
Yeah,
taken.
It was the
they couldn't
closest
say it was
thing
not her.
to it. Yeah.
And
So-
the 118,000, I think, was like a Freudian slip. I think it was just like, ask for 118,000 because it was like in his head of like, this is what my bonus just. But I don't think he intended for it to match.
Oh, see, I think he did. I think he did because he was like, we could make this look like these are people who want to hurt me from my work.
Yeah,
and
I
they
think he
would
did it on
know
purpose.
that
He's
was the
only
thing.
people at my work would know this. Like,
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
And it was published in the paper recently that his company had just hit like $1 billion in revenue or something. And he was nervous about that being in the paper.
Yeah. I think I do remember that.
Listen to me. In 1996, $118,000 bonus.
That was a lot of fucking money.
Of fucking money. That was a
My first
lot of
job
fucking
that year,
money.
I was making $23,000 a year.
I was making $21,000 a year.
I wasn't making anything because I was
You were 6. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine.
So Katelyn, let me ask you, like, without saying for certain what this person said or revealing their identity, the person that you know who was part of this, do they agree with your theory?
Yes, they think it was Patsy.
Oh, okay.
From what we've heard. I mean, it's like someone she knew in college, whatever. But it's, they said around town, it's Patsy. She's the killer. John helped cover it up and they couldn't do anything about it.
Wow. It had to have been somebody in that house.
It had to.
Now,
I just don't see how anybody broke into that house. Like, that's not a credible story to me.
My mother thinks it was an intruder.
Well, let me just poke a hole in all of this. Let me poke a hole in this condom because we were watching a documentary about this years ago, like over 5 years ago. And I had myself a little hit of a weed pen. And so I was high watching it. And I just said, while I'm watching this, JonBenet, in my head, I said this. Can you please just tell me who did this? And she said to me, Michael. As we're watching this documentary, I shit you not, she says to me, Michael. 2 minutes later on the documentary, they say, and we have another theory, Michael. And I was like, oh my God! Michael, and now you're saying Michael. And there was this whole theory about this guy who had ended up
it was 2 guys, right?
It was 2 guys, but one of the guys ended up like murdered. They thought he killed himself, and there were things in his like trailer that kind of matched certain things.
He had a boot that matched the boot print.
Yes, and I was just like, fuck.
Yes.
So as much as I've always believed it's Patsy, I will say that when I was high, one time JonBenet did tell me that it was Michael.
Have you guys ever used a Ouija board to try to talk to JonBenet?
No, I'm too scared. I'm too scared of a Ouija board.
That's some Gen X shit, Amanda. We would do that.
Yeah, we would totally do that.
You guys don't let us know what it says.
Okay, let me tell you, I also have my own weed-related story to this.
Okay.
A couple years ago, I was in Portland, and I was there for work, and we went to a dispensary. They had just legalized weed, and I got some gummies, and I had never done... No, it was a chocolate bar. Never done edibles before in that form. So I take 1 bite, and then 2... and then 3, and I'm like, still nothing's happening. Let me take 4.
Oh, classic mistake.
And I was so high. Then I ended up having a panic attack. And the roommate that I was with, she's like, look, just put the TV on and like hyper focus on something. That'll pull you out of this. So I put it on, and it's Burke on Dr. Phil. It's Burke on Dr. Phil. So I hyper focused, and I always tell everybody, like, that was the day I solved the JonBenet Ramsey case, because I truly believed for years that it was Burke. Now I don't anymore.
Why did you think it was Burke? Just because of your high
experience?
experience?
He was just fucking weird. Yeah. in my world, if you're weird, you're a murderer.
So Truly's a murderer, Abe?
No. How dare you? How dare you?
checking.
No, but I
might be.
did think it was him, and that was a prevailing theory for quite some time. But now I
So
don't
many
think it was
people
him
believe
because
it's him.
yeah, I don't think it's him though, because you guys are right. Like the
No.
oddities that he exhibits are consistent with abused children. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
just
just
don't
the
think
trauma
that
of your
he
sister
would've
being murdered in your house. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. And that like
the
you
fuck you
kind
up.
of knew what happened. Like I don't feel like he saw like exactly what happened, but I feel like he probably was starting to put pieces together. And when they're like, go back to bed and like what I
No,
feel
I
like
disagree.
you
I
think he
think
was awake for the whole thing?
no, I think that he has blacked all of it out and
Oh,
he
probably.
can't recall what happened that night. Like he's like, I think I was asleep because I don't like, I think it was so fucking traumatic.
Yeah.
All of this
That could be.
happening. He doesn't probably even remember like Christmas Day. He doesn't remember that day, like the next day. Like if I bet you anything, like he cannot recall anything about this time in his life. So I think
Maybe.
it's not even that
Or
he's
Patsy
lying.
gave him a little whack of amnesia.
I don't think that he's even lying. I think that he truly is just like fucking so scarred by it that he has blacked all of it out. And he's like, I must have just been asleep. I don't know.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. Also, one of my mom's sticking points is she's like, Patsy was so hysterical and you can't act like that. It was too much to be an act. And my
It-
thing is, no matter what went down in that house, like even if she knew and was complicit in it, that was shocking for her. So I believe that hysteria was 100% real. And it was
Yeah.
just coming from like the events that happened. You
You
know
don't
what I
feel
mean?
like she ginned it up a bit?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
I also believe she probably was like, holy shit. Like she didn't mean to do it. I
Yeah.
don't believe she
Yeah,
meant to
no,
kill her. So
that's
either way, you
that's my
killed your
like she's
child.
still
Yeah.
traumatized from what
Yeah.
happened
The
because I
baby's
don't
still
think it
dead.
was I don't think it was premeditated. I think it was a total accident. Okay, so
Yeah.
did we solve this? Is it solved?
Well, I think that the reason she was acting so hysterical was because like that was the reaction, like you said, of what happened. Because I think a lot of times, and obviously everyone always is like, well, we'll never know how we'll react in a situation like this. I think a lot of times a parent in this situation though would not be to the hysterics yet because their fight or flight mode would come in and they would just be like, we got to feel like you would almost, I think the thing you would normally say is like, I think it's weird how the mom just seems like so cut off from her emotions because those emotions wouldn't come until after you knew she was dead. Once you know she's dead, then it's like it all hits you and you're like, oh my God. But in this moment, obviously that's me trying to act like I'm a psychologist and I know what I'm saying, but I think she was reacting like this because she knew her daughter was already dead.
I agree. And that Linda Arndt woman or whatever, she said
Yeah.
like the caller was the kidnappers were supposed to call between 8 and 10 and like 10 o'clock came and went and no one said a word. Like if that was me, I'd be like, oh my God, okay, 10 o'clock's passed. What do we do now? Like,
Right.
you
I'd
know
be
what I
looking at
mean?
my watch for every
Yeah.
minute of like, oh my God, when are they calling?
Let's
was
move
just-
the fucking cars out of the front of the house. Like,
yeah, let's
something.
not have everybody and their mom come over and like the kidnappers are going to be watching you if they really are like saying they're going to don't call the police, we're going to watch you, we're going to behead her. Like that's the
they
part
knew
that's
she
like,
was downstairs the whole time.
If you thought she was really kidnapped, you would have been way more discreet and you would have been way more scared about all that.
That's what I can't get past. Like it's like Achman's razor. Like they acted like they didn't think she was kidnapped. Period.
Yeah.
End of story. They knew she wasn't kidnapped.
They knew she was dead.
Very simple.
And they knew where she was.
Yeah, because I think you'd be saying to the cops, like, what more can we do? Like, you need to do something.
Yeah,
and they were just kind of like, let's wait for a phone call.
And who doesn't
And what
say,
I found also
like,
weird
it
is
says don't call the police, so I'm scared. Please don't come here. Like can we just talk over the phone? Or like, are they going to tap our phone lines? Like, there's so many.
Yeah, I would have
things
went to
that
the
you'd
neighbor's
be
house
thinking.
and called the police and been like, here's what's going
or like
on.
left,
On the
get
way
on your
down low.
private plane and call the police from somewhere else.
I
Like,
say
don't
all
know.
this, but I am really bad in a situation, so I probably would have gone into hysterics. I'm like,
calm down. Don't you think you would at least say it says don't call the police? Like, can you not come in your police car? Can I meet you somewhere? I don't know. I'm just like, they literally came with like sirens on and like multiple police cars, and then other people came over. If you're really scared, you don't do that.
That, like, was it John that said to the cops, like, are you going to close the airport? Like,
yeah, he wanted to get to Atlanta. So weird.
Well, no, he said, are you going to close the airport to make sure the kidnapper doesn't disappear with my kid?
Okay.
Yeah.
What?
I want to say one more thing about this documentary, or not the
go ahead.
documentary, as if it's like
the Lifetime movie.
a Lifetime movie.
Go ahead.
This is a really important thing that I need to get out because it is very very upsetting. And if I was this man, if I was Jeff Shapiro, the investigative journalist, and I turned on Perfect Town, Perfect Murder, and I saw that this man, Sean Whalen, was playing me, I would have lost my fucking shit, and I would have absolutely burned the fucking building down, because that man looked more like John Mark Carr, the guy who was like supposedly transitioning and said he killed JonBenet. Like,
also, how crazy do you have to be to come forward and say you did a crime that you didn't do?
I'm sorry.
Imagine being like, I killed JonBenet, and they were like, we don't believe you.
I am Jeff Shapiro, and I'm fucking done. Like, no, I'm sorry. That's not okay with me. The fact that you guys did this to me is beyond, and I will sue everybody, because that man was so incredibly ugly. Also, interesting fact,
was so horrifyingly bad.
Oh, it's so bad. Every actor, and there's, like we said, real actors in this movie.
Yeah. Interesting
John
fact.
Hurt in this.
Yeah. Interesting fact, the whole movie is shot in Utah, and the soundstage that they used was the soundstage that was used for the Donnie and Marie show, the Osmonds, or whatever their names are.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I had a Donnie and Marie record box when I was
Of course you
I
did.
loved it
Of course
so
you
much.
did. Mhm.
So like
Loved it so much.
most, like 98% of the shots all come from Utah. And I was at one point, I was like, wait a second, did they actually film the outside of the actual house? Because that's what it looks like. And what they did is they had built a set outside with like an exact replica of the house front to film it. And that's why. Because I did think, though,
they put work into this. Great.
Oh, they put, I mean,
film.
3 hours. Imagine how much
they did the script.
But
they put no work into the script. They had a high school creative writing class write that fucking screenplay.
What I found so interesting is when I watched it back, as someone who's been to the house multiple times, I thought the street seems really wide in the movie, because the streets are not that wide where this house is. And that's because it wasn't where the actual house was.
Yeah, because it's on like a pretty main street, right? Or no?
It's just like a residential street.
I guess not.
No.
It's like a residential street. But the other thing, too, is when the Ramseys sold the house, they sold it to a group of investors for like $600,000.
Did they sell it to a foreign faction?
I think so.
Here's our house. We'll give it to you for $118,000 off.
Yeah.
We owe you that.
We're done here.
Oh man. We're going straight to hell.
So Amanda, did we get your definite theory? So I think John, these guys think John and Patsy. Who are you thinking?
Prior to this conversation, I was leaning towards Patsy. I can totally see the mutual assured destruction theory that they whether they both did it, they both know what happened.
Yes.
So they had to keep it going. Yeah.
But none of us believe it was an outside person other than Amy's mother.
No.
Yeah.
My mother, who I'm gonna force to listen to this. And then hopefully she'll come away with a different point of view. Although she's not on my Patreon. I don't want her there. There's good reason. There's good reason.
Keep her away.
All right, guys. So let's talk about real quick in our wrapping up moments. I know you guys have to get going, but who, what, and what is happening to Cody? Who, what, and why? Why is Cody? I'm calling him Cody with a C, and my theory is that he's a Cylon from Battlestar Galactica who's been replaced. But what are you guys thinking? PR firm, redemption arc? What's up?
I think Cody and I are maybe on similar journeys, and he got on fucking Zoloft Wellbutrin. Like, I don't know if he's medicated now or what, but
I don't know. And it's hard because I feel like he has the little scuff on his face, like the little scratches. And that's like what he had in some of the other episodes where he wasn't as nice. So I'm like, don't you think your medication be working in both?
Well, maybe it's a long-term scar. Maybe this is a forever scar he has on his face.
Maybe. I definitely think he hired a PR
areola.
Firm. I think he's like, I need to
scratched at his face.
Change my image. I need to have a comeback tour. He saw how good Mary was doing and he asked her for her PR team.
He's like, people are chasing me around town screaming that I suck and I'm an asshole and I need to do something because Robin and I can't even go to Ponderosa anymore.
Can I ask you guys, though, what was your thoughts on David's daughter, Katie with an I, and revealing that when she found out Christine was single, she freaked out and was like, "Oh my God, my dad needs to date her."
I thought it was
that's real weird. Real weird.
Yeah.
We got a stage 5 clinger here.
Yeah. I didn't
don't know.
feel good about
I
it.
felt like, was she just sitting home watching the show and was like, this girl, like, who sits there and thinks Cody's really mistreating this girl? My dad could give her some good loving. Like, who thinks like that?
Who thinks like your dad's gonna date someone from TV? Like, I would never watch it being like, yeah, my dad's got a chance with her if she leaves. Like, that's so weird.
And when we found
so
out that she was
weird.
leaving and she was single, she was still in Flagstaff. Like, she hadn't moved to Utah yet.
I know. I
Mm.
don't know.
It's fucking weird.
It is really weird. And I feel like
It's weird. I do think Christine found him organically, though. I think she did find him swipey, but it's weird.
But do you think he got on the app?
She said she had a
only looking for her?
matchmaker.
She said she had a matchmaker, but they've also done ads for some app called The Stir, which, as someone who's done a hell of a lot of online dating, it's supposed to be for like people who are parents. This is not an app I've ever wound up on. I've wound up on some weird apps. Not this one. Let's just put it that way.
The Stir is where solo parents can meet online, chat, and rediscover the fun in dating. Okay.
Yeah, this is
okay, but here's listen to this theory. Is it possible that Katie with an I had a matchmaker friend and she was like, you need to reach out, offer Christine your services, get her on this app, and then I'm gonna get my dad to join Stir as well, and she set it all up. Like, she seems like she's unhinged.
I don't think they met from the matchmaker at all.
Oh, you don't?
No, I think the matchmaker had different dates planned for her. That's kind of how she made it sound. She went on other dates and she met him on her own on this app. And I feel like he signed up for this app solely to meet Christine.
But he said he was about to turn his profile off.
I know, but then he acted like he just made it when Katie with an I was talking about Christine being single.
There's something fishy going on here.
Something's fishy, and I like
Let's
David.
talk
really,
about
like,
his sisters are polygamists.
Yes.
So he's in the community. So I wonder if they knew each other that way. And
Did you
knew,
see
oh
his
my God, what if he knew she was the polygamy royalty?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Next thing we know, they're gonna be on Seeking Sister Wife. He's like, no, I never wanted this, but here we go. Did you notice that at the wedding, one of David's sisters was there, and she looked exactly like Edna Mode from The Incredibles? She was in like an all black outfit. She had this black bob just like this, and I was like,
I need to see it. I need to see it.
Like Edna Mode. But it's an unfortunate pairing.
Did you see Christine's sister? What was her name, Amanda? That looked just like a Bethany. That looked just like a Truly grown up.
Big Truly.
Yeah, that's Big Truly, 100%. It's 100% Big
And
Truly.
she had the wolf shirt, and the wolf was in outer space. And I looked it up, and it's $6.88 at Walmart.
Oh, I got to get one.
Amy is starting to assemble a list of all of the products that we can buy. You know, Truly's t-shirts, things like that.
You could have an Amazon storefront of Truly items.
Yeah.
Truly and Big Truly.
I think I just relate to Truly so hard because I was Truly, like, I was always trying to dye my hair and write poetry and get people to notice me. Like, I was just a desperate cry for attention as a child. And I think that's why I relate to her so much.
Yeah.
It's
You're
a youngest
Truly,
sib. It's
I'm
a
the
youngest sib
McKelty.
thing.
It is what it is.
Ace, where are you in the birth order of your family?
Last.
You're the baby. So am I.
So I'm last, and I have 5 older sisters, and I'm the only boy. And so my dad was like ready to have himself a fucking NFL, NBA, MLB star. And I came out sassier than any of the other girls in the family. He was like, fuck, what happened here? So my parents gave up on me pretty early. They were like, yeah, no. This isn't going to work. Yourself, buddy.
We're done.
Yeah.
We're tired. You know,
my parents, it's crazy because there's 6 of us. My parents were done having 6 kids when my dad was 33, which is how old I am now. But my parents come across as kind of like older parents to me, even though they're still very young, because like they were done parenting kids a long time ago. They were like, the first time that I was left home alone for 3 weeks by myself when I was 14 and my parents went to Australia.
Oh my
God.
And they were just like, there's money, you've got rides, like you're good to go. Order pizza, there's bagel bites in the freezer.
I think it was only 2 weeks. Give him a break.
Okay, 2 weeks. And
Still.
I think it was over 2 weeks, but to each their own. I would go to school, I would come home, I would watch TV, I would go to gym, I would do all this stuff. And like I didn't do anything bad. I never had people over.
You had a Gen X experience there. You were brought up like a Gen Xer.
That's some Gen X shit right there.
Yeah.
Except when my parents left us alone, my older sister was always trying to like smuggle boys in, doing drugs, lighting the house on fire. Like it was always real wild when my sister was left home alone. It was like,
Ace, did anyone check in on you over those 2 weeks?
What?
Did anyone check in with you during that time?
Not that I really remember. Like, I'm sure someone maybe called.
They're
or
like,
something.
don't miss the bus to school.
Yeah, like I couldn't miss the bus to school. I was completely, and I couldn't even drive. So it was like I just had to depend. Like people came and they brought me for carpool and they dropped me off and stuff like that. But like it was one of the happiest times in my life at that point. It was just like alone. I got to live my best life. But like
Fridge was stocked.
Fridge was stocked. I got to watch all my shows and I lived like a fucking slob. And I was just so over the moon and I didn't care whatsoever.
wow. Were you watching soap operas during the day or no?
No, I was watching probably like the Ashley Simpson show, reality TV still at the time. Yeah, you know. As
Would your sisters come and go? Probably have a couple that would have come and go when you were 14.
I think that my one sister was still living at home, but I think that she went to like her boyfriend's house the entire time. She was just like, I was fine with that. Like I didn't care. Like I was just happy to be left alone.
No, my parents left us alone for like 2 nights, and my sister literally almost burned the house down. She snuck her boyfriend over. She was making him toast in the morning, and she never shut off the toaster. And my uncle, who was a carpenter, was stopping by to get yeah, he was stopping by to get a tool or something he had left at the house, and he said he touched the doorknob and it was scalding hot. And he opened the front door and all this black smoke came out. She almost burned the house down.
Oh my God.
Were you home, Amy?
I wasn't home. I was like at school. I don't know. Yeah.
She was being responsible.
No, I never did anything bad.
Yeah, okay.
No, like for real, like my parents never.
Ace, you were solving murders. You were solving murders. You were investigating.
Well, I will say this. I was like talking to adults in like chat rooms at like age 12, you know, like I was doing the weird stuff. I was just basically trying to do my own To Catch a Predator, you know.
Right. Setting up your own kitchen with a cam, and Chris Hansen comes walking in occasionally. It's fine.
I wonder if whenever Chris Hansen walks in a room, people just start like pissing nervous.
Yeah. I would get like nude photos from people that would take like forever to like digitalize. Like they would just like loading. Like 6 hours later, I'm like, oh, I can see a tit.
Much like when Joe Cantori shows up places. If Chris Hansen shows up places, things are going bad.
You know what I would do if I were Chris Hansen? I would walk around with a fake camera guy and I would just like go over people's houses and just walk into their kitchen and catch their reaction.
He's like, I'm just kidding.
This could be the best episode of Pranked ever. It's just Chris Hansen going into people's houses.
That's a great idea.
That is a good idea.
That's how we bring Punked back.
Yes, exactly.
100%.
He has his
all right, guys. Well, I think we've solved it. We've solved the case.
Well, we didn't really come to a consensus.
No,
we did. Our consensus is
the parents.
John and Patsy are culpable.
Okay.
Culpable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Culpable.
We believe Patsy.
They're not amiable. They are only culpable.
They're all there.
Well, Patsy's not anything anymore because she's dead now.
Yeah.
Yeah, she is. Yeah,
she's dead now.
Does she get an RIP, Amanda?
No.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The Unabomber does. Patsy Ramsey, no.
That's her karma.
No. That's her karma. That's what you get for murdering your kid. What do you want from me?
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
let's just say that we're all wrong. And this poor woman battled cancer twice in her life. This man lost his daughter.
Killed her kid.
He lost his wife. And we're all just like, fuck you, Patsy. I'm glad that and we're just like, fuck you, dumb.
Honestly, that's how strongly I believe she did it that I don't feel bad.
I know, but imagine we're all wrong and we all just like, I have shat on Patsy since I was 6 years old.
That would be a terrible life to live if everyone
and
thought
it's just
you
like
did
this poor family was just like struggling through life and like they have this loss and we're not even allowing them to grieve. And then Patsy
I think they did okay.
Like, she deserved it. And John's like, I miss my wife. And we're like, you put her in her grave.
Oh, wait. And how about John and Natalie Holloway's mom?
Yes.
Wait, what?
Did you know that?
Yeah.
He dated
John
Holloway's
Ramsey and
mom?
Natalie Holloway's mom had like crossed paths through like having missing children.
Right.
And they fucked for a while. They've broken up since, but
they dated for like kind of a while, I feel like.
Yeah.
They caught her killer, right? They caught her.
Well, they always knew it was him, but they finally arrested him.
Yes.
Yeah. And what about let's talk about another little girl. Is Madeline McCain? Has there been justice for that yet?
No,
that's another one that's always like, oh, they think they caught the killer, and then it's not like.
I don't believe
thing.
the parents did that though.
I don't think so.
Oh,
either.
I don't think so either. I don't think so either.
But you know
what?
But
I do think you guys know this too. Like, you don't leave your kid unattended in a hotel room. I don't care how safe you think it is.
Yeah,
I do think they were in the fucking wild to me.
Had it been the 80s, yeah, for sure. Like, who gives a fuck? You know, those kids are going to be smoking kids when you get back, whatever. But like, no, not in the 2000s.
Not today.
Doing this. My favorite,
maybe.
Sorry,
I was just going to say maybe we'll take that case on next. But go ahead.
One of my other favorite cases, and you mentioned it earlier. Well, I have two. Elizabeth Smart. That one just gets me. Like, I'm so terrified of someone breaking in.
Wild.
And then JC Dugard. If you've never read JC Dugard's book, you need to read it. It is one of the best.
She was the one that lived in the basement, right? With the guy.
No, she lived in the house for like 20. She was kidnapped for like 20 years.
Two kids with him.
Oh, I know that story.
He worked for his company. Like, they had some sort of like printing company.
She would meet people, but she like had a different name, and like she just fully believed that she couldn't leave.
And what's so fucking crazy is she was leaving her house, walking to the bus stop. People and we went, and because we've been to Lake Tahoe, we went and we mapped it all out. We could see where the bus stop, where the kids were waiting for the bus stop, where her house was. In between her house and the bus stop, people witnessed this happen. A car pulled over, they stunned her, they threw her in the car, and they drove off with her. And then she was missing for 20 years.
That's like the Steven Stainer case.
Yeah, Steven Stainer is the one I was just thinking about.
Yes.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then she finally got out,
I mean, there's plenty of murders for us to investigate. So I think we'll have to do this again and pick a different one.
For sure.
Yeah, I think we do it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.